Let us now study the interpersonal metafunction. This helps us relate with others in various ways during our communications. One thing interpersonal meanings do is to define the kind of interaction that is taking place, whether we are exchanging information or getting things done through exchanging goods and services. We may be interacting with others to inform, to persuade, to request, to ask, to order, etc. One thing language users do through the interpersonal metafunction is to signal our attitude and our perspective towards things being communicated and towards the people involved in the communication. For instance, we may signal the extent to which we agree or disagree with the message we are communicating. We may also choose to communicate differently with different people. That is why we do not talk to our best friends in the same way we talk to our boss, for instance. So, the interpersonal metafunction also lays the ground for identity building, for signaling power relationships, attitudes, and points of view. Let us now see the interpersonal metafunction in action by comparing some more texts. In the following two examples, the writer is applying for a job through an email message. So, the purpose of the communication may be a combination of requesting and persuading, typically used in job application messages. In the first message, the writer, named Patty, is addressing a friend called Mary. Patty starts saluting Mary using "Hi, Mary." This is a casual form of salutation, commonly employed among friends. We seldom use "hi" with strangers, at least in written messages. Patty's message is framed in personal, almost intimate terms, just between me and you. And the message is presented in a conversational and informal tone, which signals closeness. Notice, for instance, the absence of a subject in the first sentence. Her, you are back in Hong Kong, spelled as HK. Patty's request is framed quite personally, as one would expect between friends. However, Patty does not go straight into the request. Rather, she prepares Mary by saying, her, you are back in Hong Kong, and you may be needing help with your new business. Notice the use of may. Patty does not say, Mary, I know you need my help. Instead, she softens the statement using the modal may to signal probability. That leaves the option open for Mary to reply, sorry, I don't need your help. The next thing Patty does is to say, I happen to be out of work right now. She does not choose to say, I am out of work presently. Here, happen to be softens Patty's claim, making it sound circumstantial. The expression right now reinforces that by implying, I am not usually unemployed, but incidentally, at this moment, I happen to be unemployed. These choices, made by Patty here, not only prepare the ground for the request she is about to make, they also help Patty save face by implying that being out of work may not be entirely her fault. When the request finally comes, this is made indirectly and yet very personally. Please call me when you are free. What is Patty expecting Mary to say when she calls her? Although Patty does not explicitly say, please offer me a job, we can infer that when we find the phrase, please call me, immediately after I happen to be out of work. Patty does not choose to present Mary with any reasons justifying why she should be offered a job. Instead, she appeals to friendship. Or perhaps we may assume that Patty and Mary have worked together before and therefore no justification is needed. In the second message, Patty now calls herself Patricia, and she also mentions her surname. Because she is now addressing strangers, she chooses a formulaic salutation typical of business communication. Dear Sir, Madam. Contrary to what we saw in the first message, Patricia's text is now framed using a more distant, impersonal tone, exemplified in the formula, please find enclosed, and the expression for your review and consideration. The job application is also presented using an indirect approach, which emphasizes persuasion, over request. On the surface, the message starts with a statement, namely, the graduate internship position advertised on your website has attracted my attention. The writer then chooses to persuade her readers by arguing her suitability for the job, based on two supporting reasons to explain why the position has attracted her attention. One is her educational background, and the other one is her working experience. The emphasis in this second message is not on requesting a job using friendship, but on persuading her readers that she is suitable for the job using evidence, to be detailed in the rest of the text as well as in the enclosed resume. Patricia Smith, in this second message, is very different from Patty before. The extensive use of formulaic expressions in this standard opening of a job application do not reveal much about her as a human being. Rather than the real Patty, we seem to be introduced to a stereotypical job applicant performing her role according to established rules and procedures. One would perhaps have to wait to read her resume or see her in action during a job interview to get to know the person behind the mask. Let us recap. What have we learned in this video? We have learned that our human world is no longer imaginable without language. Language empowers people in ways no other semiotic system is capable of doing. And such empowerment is revealed when we analyze the resources in the language system made available to us during communication. Now the question is, how can you do things with words more effectively than before? You need to pay more attention to the textual metafunction and figure out ways of connecting your ideas more coherently in sentences and paragraphs by choosing appropriate themes and by using appropriate cohesive devices when needed. You can use the ideational metafunction to construct your messages more precisely and compellingly by choosing always the right word at the right time. Last but not least, you can learn how to employ the interpersonal metafunction to relate with others more effectively, conveying points of view, signaling power relationships, and crafting identities during talk. The limits of your language define the limits of your world. Remember that.